All right, Mayor, the meeting's yours.
Thank you, Antonio. I want to welcome everyone to the Vinton Town Council meeting for this Tuesday evening, August 15th. We will start with the roll call, please.
Councilmember Lyles.
Here.
Councilmember McCarty.
Here.
Councilmember Mullins. Here. Vice Mayor Stovall.
Here.
Mayor Gross.
Here. And of course, we have a quorum, and I would also remind everyone, although I think we're all home folks, that our citizen guidelines are always available as you come in the door on the table, along with the agenda. We will start, as we always do, with a moment of silence and Pledge of Allegiance. I'll ask you to stand for that in just a few minutes. During the moment of silence, I will be praying in the tradition of my religion, and I would invite you to pray in the tradition of your religion. As always, I'll ask you to keep this country and this community and this council meeting in your thoughts and prayers. And tonight, if you pray, if you would keep the family and friends in your thoughts and prayers of Bruce Mayer, a good friend of this community who recently passed away. So I ask you to stand for that. Councilman Lyles, you're in charge of the pledge. Who's going to do that tonight?
Well, I looked out in the audience and there's so many people out there. I just thought I would do it myself.
All right. Good decision, sir.
Yeah. Please face the flag. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the next item is our upcoming community events.
That's me.
Yes, ma'am. Councilman McCarty, that's you.
That's me. I'm frantically over here trying to open this that Chastity sent, but I can't get that open.
We can come back to you. If you
Well,
like.
no, that's okay. I have
okay.
several different other things. August the 25th, there's a yard sale set up from 9 until whenever it gets completely set up for volunteers needed for the Vinton History Museum. Saturday, August the 26th, is their annual yard sale from 8 to 1. And Judy Cunningham has said that that is their largest money maker. So
okay.
if you can attend or you can donate something, that would be greatly appreciated. The museum will be closed on Saturday, September the 2nd. So no first Saturday for the museum that day. And it will also be closed on Monday, September the 4th for Labor Day. September the 26th, we have a mingle. Tony, do you know who will be at that mingle?
I can open up.
Sorry, it didn't download
No, you're fine.
quick enough for me.
August 26th.
Listen to $5 shake.
$5 shake, okay? So it's 7 to 10 and it's $7 entry fee.
Yep.
So I hope everybody can come out and enjoy that. And Lori and I are extremely excited. I'm sure other people will be too, but we definitely are about this Virginia Tech men's ice hockey schedule at the Lancer Lot. So we do have that out, so you can go to the Lancer Lot, and I'm sure that you will see that on their website. And as always, we encourage you to go to any local business that we have in the area and check their website, because there are a lot of things going on, and I'm sure there is something for everyone.
Yes, you're right. I was just looking at the schedule. It looks great.
Doesn't it look good?
Wow, look there. No,
Look at that. Oh, yeah. You'll have to go to that
I
one.
will. I plan to. Thank you. Thank you very much. We appreciate that, Sabrina.
You're welcome.
And with that, we will talk a little bit about council activities. Councilmember Malls, please.
All righty. Seems like we haven't been here in a while, have we?
That's right.
July 19th, Mayor Gross and Town Manager Pete Peters met with Supervisor Jason Peters and County Administrator Richard K. Wood for their quarterly meeting. On August the 1st, we all enjoyed National Night Out. On August 9th, Councilmember Lyles and Councilmember McCarty attended the Community Development Committee meeting. And on August 14th, Mayor Gross and Vice Mayor Stovall attended Finance Committee meeting. And
All right.
That's it for this time.
Thank you very much. All right, next item is any request to postpone or change the order of the agenda. Hearing none, we'll move to the consent agenda. And tonight it contains the minutes of our regular meeting of July 18th. Are there any changes or additions? Hearing none, we'll entertain a motion.
So move consent.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Motion by the Vice Mayor and second by Councilmember Lyles. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. All right, don't see anything for awards or presentations. And I'll ask for citizen comments, but I don't see, I know you're citizens, but it looks like we're all staff members here. So we'll move on to the public hearing. And first I will ask if you have any bid openings for the public, for the Viking Fence project for the public.
Yes, I put up one bid through email from Viking Fence Company.
Just one bid? Okay. So we don't really reveal that bid at this time, right?
Well, the first thing I would do, Mr. Mayor, is say, for the benefit of
Yep.
all the public, are there any further bids?
Yep. Any further bids out there, guys?
Close bidding, and then
Well, we'll do our public hearing. I'll ask for a report then, right?
when we,
Yep.
what you would do just before opening the public hearing is that you would actually ask staff to summarize the any bids that you received, and then you would move to a public hearing so that the
Okay.
public, all of them that are here, have the ability to speak knowledgeably about the proposal.
Okay, so we will officially open the public hearing and ask for the report from the staff, I guess. Town Manager?
Yes, sir, Mayor Gross. Thank you, members of council. This project is actually a result of the Bike and Ped Vehicle Improvement Project on Walnut Phase 1. So this is from the town limits near Cargill up through 5th Street Bridge. This was as I said, sidewalk installation on the north side of Walnut and a shared use path on the south side. There was some other associated landscaping and access improvements to both Bob's and Viking Fence and Oliveros. Through the right-of-way negotiation with the property owners, we had to purchase a little bit of right-of-way to do the project. There was some discussions with one in particular property owner, Eric Pedigo, owner of Viking Fence, about we were going to have to we anticipated at the time we hadn't completely finished design, but we were going to restrict one of his access gates to his laydown yard. And there was a double gate that slid open to provide access to Walnut Avenue for deliveries of his materials. So through the negotiations of right-of-way acquisition, we agreed to, as a part of the project, to install an access a little further up toward more downtown on Walnut, several hundred yards. I do have a photo that I'll ask Tony to pull up, give you an indication of where that access was. So the top photo is the field. We actually purchased those properties through hazard mitigation FEMA funds years ago. And you'll see at the bottom, we installed access apron that crosses the shared use path and provides access to the laydown yard. So Mr. Pedigo actually agreed to relocate his access gate to the side of the lot. So this actually works much better for the flow of his deliveries, works better for the access management on Walnut, removes it from that really difficult 8th Street intersection. And so we did the installation as a part of the project. The deed that the deed easement that we're considering actually provides for maintenance and agreement of that access as well. So this access can never be paved because it is in the FEMA property, and this will follow the property in perpetuity. So if Mr. Pedigo was to eventually sell it, it would follow with the preceding property owner. So we have received just the one bid from Mr. Pedigo for the, in the amount of $10 for the deed easement. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you have. You have some information in your packet to show you the plat. And as I said, it kind of gives you an illustration on the screen there of what the pre and post activities look like on that site.
Right.
And Mr. Pedigo is very, very pleased with the access.
Okay, great, great. Right. Are there any other public comments? And of course, we've had the bid opening. Council, you have any questions, comments? I would just like to say, I thought that was a very creative way to take care of that issue, so I want to congratulate staff or whoever come up with that idea. It was a good way to work things out. And secondly, let's face it, that property can't be used for much, so the driveway is about as good as anything, I guess. So.
Yeah, and the way we constructed it, if there are future uses in that general corridor that are permissible through the hazard mitigation, it would provide shared access for other potential uses down the road. So if we were to have received another bid today, for an example, we could have provided some additional access easement to that property. So.
Yeah. Nice job, fellas. If there are no further comments, I'll officially close the public hearing. And we will move on to the adoption of the ordinance, which would grant a deed of easement over the parcel that we have just discussed to Viking Fence Company. Council, any questions, comments? If not, we'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to support.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilmember Lyles and a second by Councilmember McCarty. Antonio, please call the roll.
Councilmember Lyles?
Yes.
Councilmember McCarty?
Yes.
Councilmember Mullins?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stovall?
Yes.
Mayor Gross?
Yes. So what do you think? Did we get it right?
You got it right, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. All right. I'm glad you're here to make sure we do. All right. Other items that we need to consider as far as action goes is adoption of a resolution in support of the extension of the Roanoke-Blacksburg Airport runway.
Yes, sir, Mayor Gross. If you wouldn't mind, I have a little additional information on that.
Cool, please.
Letter or resolution of support. We've also provided or plan to provide a letter of support for the project. But if you wouldn't mind, I'd be happy to read the resolution.
Please, sir.
And then council can take a consideration to authorize it. Let me see if I can get this up here. Now, whereas Roanoke is the largest municipality in West Virginia and in the heart of Virginia's Blue Ridge, Roanoke, and surrounding localities primed for exponential growth in high-tech, high-wage jobs, and whereas led by Carilion, Virginia Tech, and the Fralin Biomedical Research Institute, the health sciences hub that is established is fast gaining international recognition for its research and development successes. And whereas Virginia Tech's autonomous transportation program continued to lead the industry with technological advancements, and whereas these world-class programs continue to expand, it is imperative that we promote and utilize available resources to leverage this growth to advance the rural region in rural Virginia. And whereas our health sciences and autonomous transportation industries continue to grow, it is imperative that we have an FAA-compliant runway and more direct flight options to similar hubs throughout the country. The airport's current layout cannot support these needs, which are vital to attracting, retaining, and growing regional economic development opportunities. And whereas ROA is currently operating under an FFA waiver for safety overrun areas, runway 6-24 is an instrument approach runway that operates under a waiver from the FFA because it does not have the required overrun safety area of 1,000 feet extending beyond the end of the paved right-of-way surface. And whereas considering the topography and adjacent development, addressing this issue has been best accomplished by shifting the runway west and extending it over Interstate 581. Now, therefore, it be resolved that the Town of Vinton Council joins its regional partners in supporting the extension of the Roanoke-Blacksburg Airport runway for the benefit of an efficient, effective, and transportation system that has an economy that has support the economy of our region.
All right. Thanks, sir. Appreciate that. I don't think we can overemphasize the importance of a good airport, not just good, but a modern airport. So this is really quite important, and I'm glad that the town is taking steps to support this effort. Any other comments or? So we will entertain a motion to adopt the resolution.
I'll make a motion to adopt.
I will second.
Okay. We have a motion by Councilmember McCarty, second by Councilmember Mullins. Please, I didn't.
Councilmember Lyles?
Yes.
Councilmember McCarty?
Yes.
Councilmember Mullins?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stovall?
Yes.
Mayor Gross?
Yes. Thank you, folks. All right, town attorney. I don't know what it is, Jeremy. You look a little different tonight. Must be the tie.
It's
Always
good to
good.
be here with you. Mr. Carroll is taking a very well-deserved vacation. I think it's his first vacation of more than about 2 days in several years. So I hope we all wish him well.
Yeah.
It is a pleasure for me to be with you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Always good to have you with us. Thank you, sir. Okay, town manager's report.
Yes, sir, Mayor Gross, members of council. I do have a couple of updates for you. We did have our final walkthrough of Walnut Phase 1. We just discussed that with the Viking Fence. We have our final walkthrough today. Things went very well with the contractor and inspector, so we anticipate closing that project out very soon. We do have one final piece of that project, that is a handrail along the bridge, the Fifth Street Bridge. It separates vehicle traffic from the pedestrian and bike traffic. So one last little piece to go, but that should be concluding soon. Walnut Phase 2 continues. That's going well. That's ahead of schedule, or at least on schedule. They're working on this, I guess that would be the west side of Walnut Avenue. To orient myself there for a moment. We do anticipate that project to be wrapping up maybe the third week of September. So we're about a month away from that project to being concluded. So I appreciate the citizens and our commuters' patience through that corridor. It's going to be a much improved corridor once the construction's done, but we realize the inconveniences that these detours have caused for a short time period. So that should be concluded soon. So I think everyone will be very happy to get that fully back open and see the benefits of that project. The demolition of the fire damaged properties concluded last week. Both the fire marshal and the building inspector visited the site from Roanoke County and signed off and released a demo permit. So that's quite a milestone in that progress, that project's progression. We're working with the property owners for reviewing potential plans for rebuilding. And so kind of wait and see how that plays out over the next several weeks and months. But progress is being made, so that's good to see. And finally, I just want to talk about two important projects that the town's going to be undertaking. One, a lot of folks have probably seen on Cleveland Avenue. That project has been also in construction since about February of this past year with the replacement of the Cleveland Avenue water line. The West Virginia Water Authority did a nice job of getting that project updated and in the ground, and it provides a new main line through that corridor, as well as service laterals. The town's role in that was to come back and pave that corridor. That has become, over the years, a pretty important connection between downtown Benton and uptown Benton, the kind of the Lake Drive Shopping Center, as we kind of expanded some of our services in downtown and have a lot more destinations. It's just increasingly getting more busy. So while we had the opportunity to repave, we don't get that opportunity very often. We really wanted to take a hard look at the striping plan. And so we contracted with a traffic engineer. So this was done by folks who do this on a day-to-day basis, design roads such as this. And they provided a striping plan for us with the design to make this a safer corridor, because it is heavily trafficked by vehicles, but it's also in a neighborhood. And so there's a lot of pedestrians in the corridor. There's a lot of residents parking their vehicles and navigating through that area. So we needed to make it safer for everyone involved, both the vehicles, the passer-throughs, and the folks who live in that corridor or travel through that by foot. So we had a nice striping plan put together, and just this past week, we completed a temporary marking to actually lay out what the striping plan is to look like. And, we have an engineered 2D representation. It's nice to see it, in the field so you can verify if the striping plan looks like it should work and function correctly before you actually put some paint on the ground. We want to do this right, and we want to do it one time. So this extra step of putting the markings down was, we felt like was a worthy exercise. So that's been complete. We will potentially spend about 3 weeks evaluating the temporary markings. This is to kind of see if we need to make any minor tweaks to see where we might have some points of conflict, either with on-street parking, with pedestrian access and vehicle just navigation through the corridor. So we all, from Public Works to Administration to Police Department to Planning and Zoning, have all been making daily trips through that corridor to kind of visually inspect what's occurring. We're making notes. We're kind of consolidating those. The engineer who did the plan for us is actually visiting town tomorrow. So he's coming in from Lynchburg? Lexington. And would actually be visiting and seeing in real time and in the field, doing his own visual inspection of what the layout looks like. So after we spend a couple of weeks evaluating this, we'll make some minor tweaks. There have been comments that we're incorporating bike lanes in this corridor. That is not the case. We're not dedicating bike lanes. This isn't about making this road available to bikes. Now, public right-of-ways are open for bikes, but we're not striping or redesigning the street exclusively for bike access. In fact, the white shoulder markings that you see on that road is really to define on-street parking, where parking is available for the residents. A lot of the residents in that corridor do not have driveways. There's a few that have rear access driveways from the alleyway. There's a few that have access driveways from Cleveland itself. So we don't have adequate right-of-way to provide or allow for parking on both sides. Over the years, the shoulders weren't marked, and it became a habit of folks to park on both sides, which is the most convenient to park in front of your home, and we understand that, but there's not adequate right-of-way. So it became a little bit of a serpentine, kind of bumper car almost situation along that corridor, and we wanted to correct that. So that's why the striping plan has been put to the place where it is, and you will see that on various sides, there are much more narrow shoulders now identified. Again, that's not for bikes. That's just to define that it is not wide enough for on-street parking. So there will be some no parking signs installed along the corridor and some painted curbs to identify the no parking zones. We're actually reaching out to the individual property owners that we have witnessed just during our test period that continue to park over those lines. That was part of the process to identify where we had these points of conflict. So we're making direct contact with those individuals and communicating to them. Again, there may be some minor tweaks, but those white lines are really to define where parking is and is not allowed on street. And then the yellow line is the center median to define how the road navigates through the corridor. So we've had conversations internally, numerous conversations. We are actually just on the cusp of a marketing communications plan, not a marketing plan, a communications plan to let more folks know what's going on in that corridor. And so you'll start seeing more social media posts, and we're going to ask our extended staff assistance from our local newspaper to help us communicate that. So our anticipation is by the end of August, we will pull up the temporary markings and we'll actually put the permanent markings in place along with the other parking signs and curb painting. So that's Cleveland. So just to kind of clear up any confusion that might be out there of what the intent of that role is really to make that corridor safer for everybody, walking, vehicles, parking, all the above. The next piece of this is the Gus Nix corridor. So if most folks are familiar that we have on Washington Avenue as you approach downtown on Pollard, if you're approaching R&D Coffee and Pokey Joe's, say from the War Memorial coming downhill. When you get to Popular Street, the speed reduction goes to 25 miles an hour and extends through the intersection and up to the start of Garthwaite Bridge. So with numerous conversations with council, numerous studies with our traffic engineers, and all of the future economic development, recreation amenities that are established or are establishing in that Gus Nix corridor, we are extending the 25-mile-an-hour zone from the Garthwaite Bridge through the town limits. So it's a very short period, but it is going to be an adjustment for folks commuting through the area, residents, business owners, and such. It is going to be an adjustment. So we'll have, again, a very extensive, comprehensive communications plan that will include message boards in the corridor. It will include social media posts. It will include yard signs. This also is accompanied with new signage, like permanent signage, larger 25-mile-an-hour zones, reduced speed zone ahead signs, and a new striping plan. So all that will start later this month and into September. And so, we want to take every opportunity to inform the folks traveling through that corridor that 25-mile-an-hour zone will be extended. We plan for the actual signs and striping to be sometime in September, and then the full kind of rollout of the plan October 1. So there'll be some minor tweaks to that, but we'll provide adequate notice and adequate messaging out there of when the striping and when the speed limits will go up, when it will start to be enforced. And so we just ask folks to be aware, be diligent in that area. And there's a lot of activity going on there, and there's a lot more promised in the future. So with the Lake Creek Greenway, the Trailhead, the Billy Bird Apartments, the athletic fields that are already very active down there, and then the promised Gish Mill project that is expected to get underway soon with construction. There'll be as many as 3 businesses operating in the Gish's Mill in the future. There will also be residents at Gish's Mill. So there will actually be an Airbnb or a VRBO component at Gish's Mill. And so there's going to be activity crossing Gus Nix. And it may not be all that much pedestrian activity now, but we need to influence and change behaviors of the folks traveling that corridor now before all that activity is introduced, because we don't want vehicles and pedestrians feeling unsafe in that corridor. So reducing the speed limit, it's not going to take you as a driver more than a few extra seconds to get to that corridor. Just be cognizant of the speed limit. It's going to be an adjustment, and we'll all get used to it, but it is changed, and I understand that. But just be aware and keep a lookout for all of the communication pieces and the specific timing when that's going to occur. The speed limit's now 35, and it will be extended and reduced to 25 in that corridor.
We need to slow them down. We got a lot of things we want them to look at. Back off 10 miles an hour, they'll get to see more of it.
Well, you think about the intersection of Washington, Pollard, and Gus Nix. It's 25 miles through there. The reason it's 25 is because of so much activity in that corridor, and that's just going to be extended that much further because of all the activity. People want buildings redeveloped. People want recreation. People want, these amenities. Well, with that comes this need to reduce the traffic and keep everyone safe. So this is, you'll hear a lot about this for both me, but from all of the staff and certainly from all the communication, all the various communications you'll see in the future.
Right.
Be happy to answer any questions you have about that. Hopefully, it's at least our initial introduction to those 2 projects.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Well, Pete, I appreciate that explanation very much, and certainly not surprising that staff has done a very thorough job in planning this out and helping get the information out and explaining why this has to be done. Didn't really intend to go there tonight, but we hear folks all the time will comment to us about how much is going on in Benton and how much is changing, and we're expanding and all that, and it's true. And I would say, by the way, folks, you ain't seen nothing yet. There's a lot of good stuff coming, and but with that is the other side of that is we have to make sure that our residents are still safe and have a good place to live. And so I think Cleveland is a very good example. It would have been easy to just, although expensive, to just repave it and put the stripes back just the way they were. But instead, our staff took the opportunity to study that corridor, and as you mentioned, it's getting to be more and more traffic through there because it's almost a natural shortcut, you know. And so I would like to congratulate staff on recognizing the fact that that is a busy corridor and it's going to get busier, and that changes needed to be made, because with all these changes in town, with all the growth that we see, we still have to make an effort, a big effort, to make sure this is a great place for our residents to live, that it's safe and easy to get around, you know. And yes, I've heard a few, I'll just be perfectly candid about it, comments about bikes. Well, that Cleveland change was not for a bicycle lane. But folks, as we see more apartments built and new houses, and our existing housing stock upgraded, and we attract young people as part of what young people want. You know, let's face it, good recreational opportunities and transportation opportunities, and part of that is bicycles. So I think it's wise to keep that in mind. And like I say, I just appreciate the work that staff has done, not only in recognizing the fact that Cleveland Avenue needed some improvements, but setting about a process that we can inform and educate people as to what's happening and what's going on. And certainly the same applies to Gus Nix. Vice Mayor, that was a good comment. We want folks to slow down and see what's going on and to be safe as they come through there, because there's a lot of activity there now, and going to be even more as we continue to grow and expand. So I think this is very, very important. It's not just a matter of repaving and restriping, as important as that is. You know, the education that needs to be done for our public is very important, and it's really good to see staff making plans to do that. Not surprised, by the way. I knew you guys would, but congratulations on that, and thank you for being so thorough. It's really important, and I know the police department's been plugged in on all this the whole time, so we appreciate that.
Yeah, I came that way today, down here, and it looks good. I mean,
Yeah.
the cars were parked in the white little parking areas and stuff, and there's one in the corner there, which is a dangerous corner right after you pass the old Cleveland Mart down through there, and looks like, you know, the lines are way out by the edge of the road, so it's well defined. So it looks, to me, it didn't look like a bike path because it ends and starts, and it looks like parking. So it cleaned it up a whole lot, I think.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah, I agree.
Good job, Pete. Everybody.
Any other comments?
Man.
Okay, so where are we here? Oh, anything further, Mr. Manager?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. All right, next item is a very special item. Appointments to boards and commissions, and Vice Mayor, I understand that you have something you want to talk about this evening.
I do, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make a motion to appoint Tonia Arias McIllen as a town clerk for a term beginning September 1, 2023, and ending December 31, 2024.
All right. Thank you for that motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any comments?
No.
Well, part of she came in and it's like she's always been here.
Uh-huh.
Running, and she made some
Well said.
positive changes, and glad to have you.
Yep.
Congratulations.
Mr. Manager, did you
Couldn't
want
have said it any better.
to?
All means.
Yeah, they come in and blew our doors off, didn't she?
Very good.
Yeah, very good.
She always has a smile on her face, and she's given, so.
So just to make it official, then we do have a motion by Vice Mayor Stovall, and the second was, Oh, okay, sorry. So how soon I forget, by Councilmember Mullins. And I guess officially we better call the roll, right?
Councilmember Lyles?
Yes.
Councilmember McCarty?
Yes.
Councilmember Mullins?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stovall?
Yes.
Mayor Gross?
Yes, congratulations. And I'd like to say we're very, very excited. Keith said it well. You've done a great job and everything. So do we have a presentation?
I think we were just hoping to get a photo for Miss Adams,
Okay.
Mayor and Antonio.
Something, yeah, so I can figure out.
Was that one here?
Oh, there's my.
Oh, no, I never use them things.
Thank you, Debbie.
Here's some dick council.
Great, thanks.
Oh.
All right.
It's official now. She's been keeping us in line now. It's official.
Yeah, it's official now, all right?
Officially the boss.
We're all very happy that you're here, that we are.
Happy to be here.
All right, reports from committees. I think we're going to start tonight with the Finance Committee. Mr. Sexton? That was quick. Man.
They're just so good.
Nice report.
The moment I bring this up here is the moment I'll stop talking. Start. In the spirit of well-deserved vacations, Finance Director Andrew Keene is on a well-deserved vacation. So I'm happy to be here to present the Finance Committee report. And there were a number of things. It was actually a very good Finance Committee report. Lots of items discussed. First thing that I will cover is the June 30th, 2023 financial statements. These are the unaudited financial statements that you have in your package. So the audit is anticipated to be done sometime in November, or December, and the auditors will come and present those. But excuse me, what was presented and what was talked about the most was the overarching cash position of the town. So in the cash worksheet, what we are seeing is, as Mr. Stovall remarked, just a rough back of the napkin calculation is we have somewhere in the neighborhood of a addition of approximately $1 million added to our total cash position year over year for 2023, for fiscal year 2023. So some of that comes from natural revenue growth. All of our revenue streams are doing quite well, and our major revenue streams are actually outperforming. Our top revenue streams of meals tax, VDOT, transportation, aid from the Commonwealth, parimutuel tax, sales tax, all of those are over $1 million each, some of them over $1.5 million, and doing strong and getting better. And for fiscal year 24, we budgeted those still relatively conservatively in case any kind of economic downfall or recession happens, so still keeping the town in a very good position. But one of the things I'd like to point out is that even though all of those revenue streams are doing very well, they're all quite diversified across all of them, and no single revenue stream in the town makes up greater than approximately 15% of our revenues. So unlike counties and cities in the Commonwealth, which traditionally have somewhere between 40 and 60% of their local revenues coming from real estate tax or even other personal or other property taxes, the town is extremely well diversified. So while we wouldn't want to see any of those revenue streams falter, I mean, 15% is still a big number.
Yeah.
We are not overly dependent on any one revenue stream. And like I said, all of those revenue streams seem to be growing year over year in what I would consider a sustainable fashion. The other big takeaway from the financial statements at the end of the year is we have made a concerted effort to grow our cash investments for the town to take advantage of the high interest rate environment that we're living in. So a lot of the cash that we have received are one-time payments, either from the transfer of the utility system or from the water authority, or just other excess revenues that are sort of what we're deeming to be one-time sort of cash surpluses that we don't want to live off that growth should something happen. And what we're doing is by utilizing those high interest rates, we're making money for the citizens of the town and then reinvesting that money into projects for them. So we are not just holding this money to hold the money. We are actively doing projects, Mr. Mayor, as you mentioned earlier, all the stuff that's going on in the town. This is this money being pushed back into the community. And what we're doing is, because we can only push it back so quickly, we figured we might as well earn some interest on it in the meantime so that we can do more for the citizens in the future. So a lot of this money that we're holding from ARPA money, from utility transfers, we're holding for capital projects in the future to actually make the citizens' lives better in the coming years and to weather any potential downturn that may come in the next 1, 3, 5 years. So as you heard me present when I presented the budget a couple months ago, the financial position of the town is still extremely strong. I believe that we have been quite fortunate both in our revenue streams and in the development that we've had and the strong positioning that we've put in. And we have been extremely good financial stewards. The staff have been very prudent in their spending. We don't like to take on more than we can chew. And when we do, we believe in doing it right and making sure that it is good for the citizens, the businesses, and the visitors to the town. So if you have any questions or would like any further detail, I'd happily go into that. But that is the financial statements, unaudited, of course, and at your pleasure would entertain a motion to adopt those statements.
All right. Thank you, sir, very much. Council, any questions for Cody? Comments?
Comments. That without a doubt was a solid meeting. It was a solid meeting. I first off take my hat off to the banking institutions inside the town or that are in the town, that we have this money in, that we're generating the income for the citizens. I do believe that we have a huge rainy day fund that's great. We are spending their money wisely, and the staff is working diligently to take that money when we do make the revenue off of it and putting it back into town. And as I said Monday, yesterday, if you drive around the town, I had some errands to run last week, and if you drive around town, there's a lot going on.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of stuff going on that we're doing to make this town better. So, and then the big thing that I give staff credit for is the fact of the business licenses that's gone from somewhere roughly in the low 500s to I think the number 612 is what I got. So somebody's doing something right for that to be like that, and that raises the B-poll tax. So I take my hat off. I take my hat off to staff because and to give the message to the citizens of this town, this is a solid. We ended the year with a solid budget, and we have a solid budget next year, this coming year.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Well said. Any other questions, comments?
Are we still debt free?
For all intents and purposes. But anytime you'd like to take on more debt, we have the capacity.
That's a good point. We if we need to, we can. All right. Well, if there are no more questions or comments, we will entertain a motion to accept the Finance Committee report as presented.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Mullins, second by Vice Mayor Stovall. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Thank you, sir, for great report.
Well, thank you. I do just have the 3 additional items that were discussed.
Oh, that was just one item?
I apologize. It was a long meeting. It was a good meeting, but it was a long meeting. And some of this will actually bleed into Nathan's report for the next committee meeting as well. But We did discuss, we have received for the park project, Ms. Fayula Gordon has secured a $218,000 grant to assist with that project. So we will, because it's in excess of 1% of the total budget, we will be holding a public hearing at a September council meeting to appropriate that money for spending it. So that, help me out, Pete, that should give in the neighborhood of $500,000?
Just over $500,000 allocated toward the park development project.
Towards the new park project. So Ms. Gordon has been phenomenal in getting grants for the town, so she should really be commended for that. So happy to move that project along. And then Mr. Peters discussed the regional skate park project, which I also think Mr. McClung may discuss as well. So you can either do it during that one. They'll do it during community development. And then Mr. Stovall discussed the playground at Benton Baptist. So
That's correct.
Yep.
So very good meeting. But that's it. If you have any questions, always happy to answer them. But thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Cody.
Good report. And Cody, I'd like to say I appreciate the way you handle the finance committee meeting, because for guys like me, it takes a little explanation. I always appreciate that. Thank you. All right, with that, we'll move on to the Community Development Committee report. Mr. McClung.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. So the Community Development Committee meeting met on Wednesday, August 9th. The first item of discussion was about our current animal public nuisance ordinance of the town. We actually had a citizen come and address a concern in their neighborhood concerning a dog and issues relating to that dog. Staff and council members were briefed on 3 different versions of ordinances related to public nuisances related to animals. One being the town's current ordinance, one being Roanoke County's, and then one from Northern Virginia and Loudoun County. Each of these ordinances contain different enforcement measures and nuances that would need to be considered depending on staff size, also based on how the town wants to deal with animal nuisance ordinances, whether it be proactive, reactive to incidences, the staff size that we currently have within the town and the police department, and also the severity of the problem present. So depending on how wide scale this issue is, do we need to enact changes at all to the ordinance, or do we remain with the current version as it is? There's pros and cons to each one, and we're just asking to review those different ordinance sections and see whether or not we need to move forward with amendments. But overall, the town's current animal ordinance, we would obviously have a section related to the nuisance of animals and dangerous dogs. The major difference between Roanoke County and the town of Vinton's is that Roanoke County has fines attributed to those type of infractions. And then Loudoun County in Northern Virginia, they have an entire different system than us. Of course, they also have a much larger staff, an entire department of animal control with 30 plus staff members, and a lot different ways and a lot more severity of the problems that they're dealing with in their rural and suburban environment. That was the first item we discussed. So we'll look for direction on that in the future. The next item was the Cleveland Mart redevelopment project. There's an alley that runs through the middle of the building in the present day. You all dealt with this when Longwood Apartments was going through refinancing, and we had to vacate an alley that was not vacated properly in the 70s. In this situation, it's very similar. It's a 10-foot alley that runs through the middle of the building, and it's between 2 historic subdivision plats, and so it was never properly vacated. But because we're going through the plat process now, we can use a resolution and a deed adoption to officially close it. However, a 2017 town policy does require a public hearing to be advertised before we can adopt the resolution and before we can actually sign that deed. So it's pretty much, we're going to have to go through the same process that we would do for any other street closing or alley closing. So look for future meetings for that to take place. But the alley is straight through the middle of the building. But this will just clean up the plats that have already been created by Balzer with the developers. But thankfully, this is not going to disrupt the redevelopment of the building at all. They can move forward with their building permits. This won't disrupt. This is just cleaning up the plats for future reference and future generations. Marshall Stanley, our economic development specialist, updated on a Roanoke regional housing, sorry, not housing, a Roanoke regional retail study that's occurring. The significance to Vinton of this is that we receive proceeds from sales tax generated both within the town and Roanoke County. So it's good to be aware about commercial developments, industrial developments that are occurring both within the town and the county because of the implications of that. So that study should be, it's getting taken on by, I believe, the EDA. And so
Roanoke County's EDA.
Roanoke County's EDA. And so, the results of that will be valuable to us as well. As Cody mentioned, that the town's so Roanoke City is considering a regional skate park initiative. This has been compared to like a skate park that you would see in the movies. So it's a much larger scale than what we're probably used to in this region. Roanoke City is going to be spearheading the development of this major regional skate park. The town is just asking to being asked to contribute financially overall to the overall construction and redevelopment or development of the park, which our citizens can utilize. However, the long-term maintenance will be fully assumed by the Roanoke City Parks and Recs Department. And based on in the past, the town has been looking at a skate park within our own town limits, and the new park project behind the pool will implement some measures of related to skating, but nothing of this magnitude. The regional park will actually be something with pools and both what they call vert style skating, so people can use the pools and other things, but also a mock streetscape, so people can skate within the park area as if they were on like a streetscape with planters and other elements. But the town's financial contribution is relatively small compared to the overall cost of the project, which is nice, and our citizens can use it. Pete, do you want to speak to that project?
Yeah, Nathan's done a wonderful job to kind of summarize that, but I'll mention one thing about the retail study. Roanoke County asked the town to participate in that. It's a comprehensive study for the entire Roanoke County, but since we are a community within the county, they invited us to participate. We anticipate a series of recommendations that the consultant will provide of targets or strategies that we could implement both as a county and the town to recruit additional gaps in our retail segment, and that's something we've had some success with over a number of years, but there are some still gaps existing, particularly in the retail segment. So we hope to identify those and have some strategies in place to recruit to fill those gaps. About the skate park, this has been I worked for the city of Roanoke at Parks and Recreation in the late 90s and early 2000s, and we were talking about skate parks back then. So this has been a long initiative in the works. They had a fairly decent sized skate park under the Main Street Bridge in Wasena Park. That is being taken out as a result of the replacement of the Main Street Bridge. So this is a cooperative initiative with the Roanoke Skateboard Initiative group. It's a community group, advocates of skateboarding, made up of users, and so they've had feedback. This is a user group that have given them their direction on what they'd like to see and the type of amenities they'd like to see. So as Nathan mentioned, this is a kind of a subgrade empty swimming pool sort of design, but there's also a streetscape. So it's got a lot of the amenities that skateboarders seek out on public streets or public parks, and it's all concentrated into one area. The great thing about this is it's accessible by the Greenway, so all the communities along the Roanoke River Greenway will be connected. It's also on a public bus route, so in theory, for $1.25 quarter, you could get on the Valley Metro bus in Benton with your skateboard, go to Wasena and skate. It'll be a free amenity. It will be lit, so there will actually be some evening hours, extended hours, particularly in the winter months when it gets darker early. So the city of Salem, Roanoke County, and Benton have been asked if our interest to participate. They've done a concept plan and a budget. This is over a $2 million skate park. So the town of Benton can never dream of building something like this on our own. And so our financial contribution will have and provide us access to a skate park that our residents and could never really have access to if the town was to construct it alone. So I'll be coming forward to council at a future council meeting to ask or make a recommendation for funding. We've had preliminary discussions about basing it on a pro capita share. So that depending on, your population, it would be your associated contribution toward the park. And it's a one-time expense for us. As Nathan mentioned, they would assume the ongoing maintenance responsibilities indefinitely. So it seems like an opportunity we wouldn't want to miss. So thank you for the summary, Nathan.
Yeah, thanks, Pete. The final item we discussed was the downtown commercial overlay district. So the town has contracted with a consultant firm to review the establishment of a overlay district in our downtown. So this overlay district will open properties within that defined area to future historic tax credit opportunities, but will in no form or will not establish in any form any architectural or historical design regulations or restrictions on anyone. So there's really all pros of this. There's no cons to us establishing this district. It's based on the historical downtown character of the defined area of that area within the town, and buildings within it, even if they aren't deemed historical, can still gain access to federal tax credits to help with potential redevelopments of their property. This also will enable the Cundiff Pharmacy sign that's currently at what was in the present day Cundiff Pharmacy to be moved back down to the downtown area, because currently state code language doesn't allow signs with the words drugs or pharmacy to be placed on a building that's not an active and regulated pharmaceutical business. So having this would allow the sign, which is historical, to be placed back on South Pollard, which it was originally. And that sign does have a lot of history. It's been noted that the person who made the Roanoke Star was the same person who created that on the pharmacy sign.
Cool. I didn't know that. Yeah, that is.
So yeah, a lot of history with, it's not just for the sign. Obviously, there's gonna be a lot of benefits for historic tax credits, and but there's not gonna be an architectural review board established with this. There's really no zoning implications to this at all. It's more about establishing the overlay to allow businesses to tap into future funding sources and tax credit opportunities.
Great.
Just to expand on that slightly, Nathan, great job to explain that. We've had a couple of projects in the town that have benefited from historic tax credits, the Roland E. Cook lofts and Billy Bird apartments, for example. And those projects can take 3 to 5 months to go through the registration, the nomination of historic structures. And so that by having this historic overlay district in downtown takes that kind of a step down the road, so that if there are future projects that have interest in using the tax credits, they would already be nominated and through the approval process. As Nathan said, there's no restrictions on the property use. It doesn't prevent you from remodeling it. It doesn't prevent you from painting it odd colors. It doesn't prevent you from tearing the structure down if you wish. There's no really as Nathan put it, negative to this. Is just a benefit, and certainly will help us with the Cundiff sign.
Awesome.
And I guess I should add, we do have a preliminary property owners meeting, a stakeholder meeting scheduled next week with our consultant. Our consultant's already putting together our preliminary information form, which is the first step to submit it to Department of Historic Resources. Their next meeting is, their state board is meeting in September. September. Once we get through that initial review process with DHR, we will host a community-wide meeting so that anyone interested in learning more about the project, what the historic overlay district means, what properties are being included, there will be a public meeting that people can come and get more information about. So more detail to come. We're just in the very, very early stages of kicking this off.
Yeah, that's exciting. I like that. Good. Very nice. Very good.
So, pin your questions. That was our entire meeting.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Good job.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
Nice. Exciting news. Thank you, Nathan.
We got the A-team.
Mm-hmm.
The 18.
Up there is telling us good
Yeah,
stuff.
you're
Kennedy
right.
sign
That's a good way to put it. The 18.
Great comment.
Yeah.
He did that in
Awesome.
1949, and then they did the Cundiff one.
Well, back then.
He was like 98 years old when I worked at the Roanoke Times, and he'd come and do all the signs on the doors too. Up until like he was still really Roy Bob McKenzie.
Incredible.
Kinsey. not Ken-
Wow.
Kinsey.
Wow. Very, very interesting. All right. With that, thank you very much, Nathan, for that report. Certainly exciting. A lot of great stuff going on and more to come. And with that, we'll move on to council comments. And tonight we'll start with Councilmember Mullins.
Thank you.
If you would, please.
I just want to comment on National Night Out, the best one yet. The weather was perfect. The Benton Police Department swag was perfect. It's such a privilege to be in that atmosphere with all of our area law enforcement, and that was a great job, guys. Thank you. Thank you very much. And several of us, but I participated in the blood drive that Antonia set up, and it was a really, really good experience. That was my first time donating blood. It was a very good experience. I would definitely do it again. I can't say, I mean, everybody was so friendly and made you feel comfortable, and it was great. I really enjoyed that.
So, old friends, right?
I did. I
Yeah.
sure did. And also, I just want to say for the new school year, teachers, support staff, students, have a great year. Parents, hang in there. Get this good year off to a good start.
God bless everybody that's got a teenager, right?
Right.
Yeah. Mr. Vice Mayor?
Yeah, well, great comments, National Night Out. I got to go to the other end of the dais a minute though, because as you know, Debbie took a picture of us that night, and Councilmember Lyles climbed on the climbing rock and went about halfway, and I'm standing beside somebody, and they look at me and go, "I think he's going to go all the way to the top." I said, "We're getting ready to see how many lemonades he drank over the last." And sure enough, hats off to him, because you'd bet me a steak, I'd have bought you one, because he got to the top and hit the button.
Oh, very good. Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ma'am, you have anything further?
Well, I totally forgot in my announcements. Mr. Lyles over here at birthday. Birthday to you.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
That's all.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, National Night Out I think it grows every year.
Yeah, it's great.
From what I've seen, also, some National Nights Out get canceled and they come to ours. Speaking of instead of having multiple ones, they cancel the ones that they're going to have, and they end up coming to ours and helping us with ours. So it just continues to get bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
So it's really good to see all the citizens come to that and enjoy that. I will say it's a funny story. It helped me with something I was working on with my what I do for a living, and we were one of the first ones there at the National Night Out, and I had to bring my 2-year-old granddaughter with me to be picked up with me, and when she saw that bouncy house, we were the first ones in it, and
The last one.
I don't know where we rented that thing from, but we cleaned it up for them really. Because I was solid black when I got out of it. But the only way I could get her out of there was we were having icy pops, and I bribed her getting out with an icy pop, and so that's how we got out. But then I got an idea, and now I make icy pops.
Way to
And I
go.
bribe her with those now.
Probably works every time, doesn't it?
Yeah, the last thing I got is, we mentioned it at the beginning, when you opened the meeting up. But since we met last, the town's lost two like icons of the town, that the people that really cared about this town and did a lot for this town and the community. Bruce Mayer will definitely be missed, and so will Matty Ford.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
I think that was a week and a half ago or 2 weeks ago that Matty Ford's passed away, but we haven't met since. So on my mind and in my thoughts.
Thank you, sir. And I won't belabor it too much since it's already been mentioned, but thank you guys, everyone involved for the National Night Out. It was a lot of fun. Great to see everyone, and like I said, it grows all the time. Certainly want to congratulate Twin Creeks for, we had a ribbon cutting there, opening of their new outdoor section. I believe it's called Creek Bank. So they've grown all the way to the creek bank. So anyhow, but it was a lot of fun. So congratulations to those folks for that growth. Speaking of congratulations, Antonio, we certainly want to congratulate you and thank you for the addition that you've been here. It's good to have you aboard. And congratulations to Cody. He successfully completed 2 weeks of leadership training at the UVA Walden Cooper Center, I believe it is. And obviously I've never been to that, but I hear it's quite intense and can be life-changing. So congratulations. And I think you recently had a birthday too, right? So, no, you're trying to...
I'm near you, sir.
You what?
I'm near your birthday.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I got that wrong. I guess we were talking about kids.
Just give me a cake, I'll take it.
Mayor, did he graduate from that?
It's completed.
Did he lose his seat by going there or something? Sit in the back of the room? Yeah, I don't know what,
He's demoted.
yeah, I was going to say, you go to that thing for 2 weeks and you come back and you lose your seat, you have to sit in the back.
Now work your way back up.
Well, Pete can tell us, but from what I hear, it's quite intense. So,
Keep going to it.
yeah. So congratulations, both of you guys. It's good to see folks advance their careers and be willing to make that kind of effort. And I guess that brings me to my last comments. I hope you'll forgive me if I go too far down this road, but life can sometimes be a real paradox. We certainly want to celebrate tonight. We had a lot of good news, and two young people completing important phases in their life, but by the same token, like you mentioned, we've lost two real stalwarts, real contributors to this community. Maddie was involved in so many things; it'd be hard to list it all. And just a great lady, and a lot of things about her I really enjoyed working with her on several different committees. A couple things really stood out about her is after she raised her children to show you the value she put on education, then she went back to school and completed her associate's degree. I thought that was always pretty cool, And the other thing, she and Doug had to move outside of town limits for a while, but they said for years, if there was a place in Vinton, if you guys could come up with a place that, we didn't have to cut grass and all that, apartment style was really nice, we'd move back. Well, true to their word, when the apartments were completed at Ronnie Cook, they were the first tenant. They had this special
And they're in their classroom.
Yeah, exactly. They could go down the hallway and point out classrooms with different
They
people.
were living in one of their classrooms.
Yeah, so very cool. And so she was just a great lady, and so was Doug, was a great guy. And of course, Bruce, man, what can you say about Bruce? A close personal friend, but also a friend to this community. He certainly made a lot of contributions to this community, to several communities, as a matter of fact. And I enjoyed his intelligence and certainly his wit and his sense of humor. I love greeting, Bruce, he'd say, "Hello, Mr. Mayor," and I'd say, "Hello, Mr. Mayor." Obviously, a little difference there, but he was just such a great guy. And as I mentioned to some of you folks earlier, I think he was a great example of a really, really awesome, really great person, but yet very humble. Very humble guy. Just huge loss to this community. He'll certainly be missed. That's for sure. So, rest in peace, my friend. Okay. With that, we will move on to our closed sessions, and tonight we will have a couple. So I'll read the request, and then we'll need a vote on this. First one is request to convene in a closed meeting pursuant to 2.2-3711 A1 of the 1950 Code of Virginia as amended. This is for discussion of annual performance of the police chief. And I think we can do both at the same time. Or do we have to vote separately?
You may. You can vote on them together.
Okay. The second one is for discussion of acquisition of real estate, real property in downtown Benton, and open discussion might affect it, so that will also be in a closed meeting. So is there a motion for those closed meetings?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion by Councilmember Lyles, second by Councilmember McCarty. Antonio, please call the roll.
Councilmember Lyles?
Yes.
Councilmember McCarty?
Yes.
Councilmember Mullins?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stovall?
Yes.
Mayor Gross?
Yes. Thank you, folks. As always, we will not be offended for the whole crowd if you're not here when we get back. God bless you.
Good to see you, Mike. Good to see you, Pete.